It's a headline that it seems impossible, right? On one side, you've got Stephen Hawking, a global icon of pure genius, a mind that literally unlocked secrets of the universe. And on the other, you have Jeffrey Epstein, the mastermind behind a horrific sex trafficking network. So when these two names crashed into each other in unsealed court documents, the internet just exploded. So let's get into what the files actually say. I mean, this is the Stephen Hawking we all know and remember. The inspirational genius who told us to be curious, to look up and wonder. His voice, his words, they represented the absolute best of human potential, of what our minds are capable of. And then this. The moment the Epstein documents were unsealed in January 2024, Hawking's name was suddenly dropped into the darkest context imaginable. It sparked a total firestorm of memes and wild speculation, branding one of history's greatest minds with this unthinkable stain. So how on earth did this happen? To really understand the story, we've got to go back and ask the most basic question. How did a theoretical physicist even get into the orbit of a predator like Jeffrey Epstein? Well, the answer, as it so often does, really comes down to ego and reputation. See, back in the early 2000s, Epstein was on a mission. He started pouring millions of dollars into the hard sciences, flying in Nobel laureates and the world's top physicists. And you have to ask, why? Well, he wanted their intellectual halo. He was trying to launder his own reputation. He didn't just want to be a money guy. He wanted the world to see him as a brilliant visionary. And surrounding himself with geniuses was his shortcut to that credibility. So the timeline here is absolutely crucial. Okay, so in 2006, Hawking goes to a science conference in the Virgin Islands, and some of the social events, like a barbecue, are hosted on Epstein's private island. Now, fast forward to 2015, Epstein is a convicted sex offender by this point, and he writes this really bizarre email that mentions Hawking. And then, boom, January 2024, that email finally becomes public, and the internet just loses its mind. That email from 2015 is the entire basis for this whole controversy. It's the one single piece of text that connects Hawking's name to the ugliest parts of the Epstein saga. But what it actually says, and maybe more importantly, why he wrote it, well, that's the whole story right there. So this is the crucial point, isn't it? What did this email, this supposed smoking gun, actually say? Let's look at the exact words that started this entire firestorm. There it is. That's Epstein writing to Ghislaine Maxwell. He's telling her to offer a reward to anyone who can help prove that his victim, Virginia Giuffre, is lying. And then he points to what he calls the strongest rumor they can disprove, that Stephen Hawking took part in an underage orgy. Okay, now this is the most important part to understand. This email isn't from an accuser making a claim. This is Epstein, the abuser, talking to his accomplice. He's not confirming a rumor. He's literally crafting a manipulative PR strategy. And this right here gets us to the absolute core of Epstein's sociopathy. The guy wasn't just a predator, he was a master manipulator. He saw Stephen Hawking not as a person, but as a tool, a famous reputation that he could twist and weaponize for his own defense. So let's break down this playbook, because it's chillingly clever. Step 1. You invent, or you latch onto, a completely absurd rumor. Something so physically unbelievable, like a severely paralyzed man participating in an orgy, that it's easy to disprove. Step 2. You pretend your victim is the one spreading that crazy rumor. Step 3. You make a big public show of offering a reward to disprove it. And finally, step 4. You use that to discredit them completely. The twisted logic is, see, if she lied about Hawking, then she must be lying about everything else too. It's pure, calculated gaslighting. And this really gets to the unbelievable cruelty of the whole tactic. Epstein knew the claim about Hawking was easy to ridicule because of his profound disability. He weaponized that disability, using it as a shield to protect himself and other powerful men from the very real, very credible accusations of abuse. So, okay, that was Epstein's twisted strategy. But what about the facts? Let's turn to the actual court record and see what the victims themselves testified to under oath, because that's where the truth is, not in some predator's manipulative email. So here it is, the central question. The memes, the headlines, they all implied that a victim accused Hawking of sexual abuse. But did that ever actually happen in a court of law? The answer from the legal depositions is an emphatic no. When one witness was asked directly if Hawking got a massage, which was often a code word in the Epstein world, she gave a clear no. And when Virginia Giuffre, the very victim Epstein was trying to frame, was questioned, she confirmed she met Hawking but made absolutely zero allegations of abuse against him. The rumor came from Epstein, not from his victims. So, this is the bottom line. On one side, you've got the internet meme, which was born from misreading a single manipulative email. And on the other side, you've got the sworn court record, which shows that Hawking attended a science conference event and was never, ever accused of any misconduct by any victim. So, what are we supposed to take away from all this? The real story here isn't about some hidden dark side of a famous scientist. The real story is a tragedy of association, and it's a stark lesson in how evil can borrow credibility from the brilliant. And we have to be really clear about this. This doesn't just absolve the situation of how gross it is. Hawking, like so many other powerful and brilliant people, accepted the hospitality of a predator. His presence on that island, even if it was just for a barbecue, gave legitimacy to a monster. And that raises some very real, very uncomfortable questions about willful blindness among the global elite. So to just sum it all up, the story about Stephen Hawking and an orgy came from Jeffrey Epstein himself. It was a sick PR tactic to discredit his accusers. No victim ever made this claim in court. And what this really does is give us yet another horrifying window into the manipulative, sociopathic mind of Epstein. You know, this quote just perfectly captures the truth here. When it comes to Stephen Hawking, the Unsealed files didn't unmask a new villain. What they did was show the terrifying, corrupting influence of the man who hosted the party. And that leaves us with a final, and I think really crucial question. In an age where a lie can circle the globe before the truth even gets its boots on, how do we protect the truth and a person's entire legacy from being twisted and weaponized by the very monsters they once associated with? That's something we're thinking about.